Good to see you too. And I have to say, it's quite the transformation that you undergo to get into the stranger mode. It's lovely to actually see your face.
Oh, that's so sweet of you to say that. Yeah, yeah, it's funny, isn't it? When I remember that, because I obviously inside feel like I'm still, I'm Daniel. I'm the person who goes to set and gets ready, but I forget that other people see a very different image. In season 1, it was my own beard and largely my own hair by the end of it, and I remember staring at this, a mirror in New Zealand in my bathroom, seeing this sort of crazy old man look. I couldn't get the dirt out of my fingernails. The sort of eye makeup, which was so brilliant for him, it was impossible to just get off on a turnaround. And so I sort of living with this sort of slightly lost, vulnerable, wonderful, old creature. And now, yeah, because we finished filming about a year ago, I've sort of got a bit more used to being clean shaven. I think this is the longest period that I've been clean shaven for a long time, which is interesting. Yeah.
Oh, fab. So how long do you have to sit in the makeup chair then to get all of this done? Because I have to say, it is quite fantastic to see like just how much it helps with like the character, kind of like some of your facial expressions. It's just lent to some of the makeup that's added as well.
Yeah. And I love the fact that with this character, it happens with all characters, but with this character especially, I feel like I'm telling other people's versions of the stranger through me. It's not just my character. The makeup team really feed in. In the morning, it might be 3 hours, I don't know how long, I can't really remember, but every minute of it is fantastic for me because it's removing Daniel and it's bringing out the stranger. And as they bring him to life, there's normally a point when the makeup artist sort of looks into the mirror and looks at me and sort of goes, here he is, he's coming now, and you can feel the sort of excitement of this character sort of emerging. And I use that time, I've always used that time in the chair as being so helpful for process, for finding him. Finding his sorrow, finding his wonder, finding his vulnerability, and the possible of seduction. You sort of go all through. It's a bit like when you have your hair cut. Sometimes you go through different stages of hair before you get to the final cut, and you think, "Oh, what would I be like if I was this person? Like this is where we finish, and yeah, I wear a slide over here, and it's cut here, and it's not cut there. What would I be like in day-to-day life?" It's sort of a bit like that. The process of being made up for this show, and yeah, it's a real privilege to have it.
And it's such a fantastic character to play as well. But when you were kind of signing on, what were you told about this character? Because I can only imagine the questions you were asked around season 1 and probably around season 2 as well, because there is such a ambiguity around, like we think we know who he is, but we're not totally sure yet. It hasn't been officially confirmed yet.
Yeah, and I think something that I'm coming to now is that actually we have seen this character. We have seen the existence of this character, the complete existence of this character, more than any other character in our show in Middle-earth. We saw him land with nothing. We saw him have almost no backstory. He didn't remember anything of where he came from, and he's had to experience everything that he knows now. He's experienced largely with the Harfoots and the landscape. And so actually, if you look at it that way, we sort of know him better than we know virtually any other character. Other characters brought things, they'd been alive for 20, 200, 2,000 years, and that they have all that baggage that we didn't experience. But with the stranger, we've seen it, we've been with him during it all. And I like the fact that although we haven't given him a name like we might name our friends, we know him really well. We would be able to say, I know how he's going to respond in here. I know he might be conflicted. I know he might be seduced by that power, but I know he wants to do good, or I think he'd help out here. And we've got all the experience of watching him to back that up. So for me, it's a joyous place to be. And the showrunners, when they give me scripts, are doing that really. They're saying, play the present, play what's happening in the scene. We don't need to worry about the future. The future will be written, but as in our lives day to day, we don't need to worry too much about that. We be as committed as we can to the present and let the future take care of itself.
Yeah, and I think the relationship between the stranger and the Harfoots, especially Nori and Poppy, I think is just a gorgeous little band together kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it just looks like you had so much fun shooting your scenes as well. So how was it?
Yeah, it was absolutely. It was like the joy of my career. It's just been incredible to. And some days I wake up in a cold sweat thinking, if they cast different people, how would we have? Because it feels so unique, that relationship. And to be fair, it was almost like it just clicked sort of on day one. Certainly, Markella and I, the way we worked together, was just, there was something ethereal about it to begin with. And I've always seen, or the Stranger's always seen, maybe I've always seen something ethereal in her version of Nori anyway. I think she complements the Stranger in a fascinating way. While he might appear to be magic, really what he's doing is channeling the energies that are around. He's a conduit for energies. That's how I interpret it. And I feel like she's a conduit for things. She channels things. She is able to harness energies both around her community, her landscape. And as they move forward into season 2, I think they're going to complement each other in the way that the skills that they can bring to their journey and their adventure. And at times they might not be able to solve the problems that they come face to face with, and we might hope that somebody else, Poppy, turns up to help them out. So this sort of very equal friendship has been a joy to play, and I love working with them. Both of them are extraordinary actors, and I feel lucky to share a screen with them.
Yeah, and we actually got to see that you get to share the screen with another wizard this time around. So how was it meeting more magical people? Yeah,
meeting magical people is really cool in that I think I suddenly realised that the Stranger's whole relational experience has been sort of that, quite like a human experience. So when I talk to you, I feel there's a sort of sphere around us. We're in a sort of bubble, me and you, and I might have a bit in the background about when I'm going to pay my electricity bill or, getting to the shops to buy supper, but largely I'm with you, we're talking. When the Stranger meets an eternal being, that sphere is suddenly expanded, and it's not just expanded in terms of distance, the fact that it's the whole of Middle-earth, the fact that it's into the earth, up into the sky. It's also the universe, and it's also time, it's also backwards, forwards, and it's also all the different beings, it's the different gods, it's the Maya. And I think, so for me, that playing that and suddenly sort of having this very, very important sphere with the Harfoot experience and how much that's formed his understanding of who he wants to be and who he should be, suddenly watching that sort of disappear into this vast sphere of the Tom Bombadil world, the eternal sphere, and knowing how much he can hang on to it and how much he should cherish it versus how much he should be paying attention to the rest of the universe, I think that's going to be a key point for The Stranger in season 2.
Yeah, and actually you also, we're going to assume that maybe the paths will cross with the Dark Wizard, who's played, of course, by Ireland's own Ciarán Hinds. So did you get to meet him at all? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I definitely met him in the parking lot. He was definitely filming on days when I was at set, and Ciarán is like, there are actors that you come across who you've seen the work of, and you're sort of less venerable actor, and you see them, and it's always a joy to see people like that, and to, even if you can say hello, good morning, what are you having for breakfast, you hope some of their magic can rub off on you. I remember once wearing a costume for a different film, and as I was given it by the costume designer, I saw Daniel Day-Lewis's name in it, and I was sort of like, oh my goodness me, I hope they haven't washed it since he used. I hope there's something of him that can sort of. So it's a bit like that with Ciarán. I think everybody was really, really pleased that we were able to get him on the show. I hope that everybody gets to see him in it, because he's going to be extraordinary, I think.
Oh, definitely. And I'm so excited to see how the rest of the season unfolds. I was a massive fan of the first one, so cool. I'm like dying to get my hands on the rest of it now.
Cool. That's good to hear. Good to hear.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great
nice
day.
to meet you. Thank you. You too.
Is it my task to stop the fire? Is it my task to face Sauron?